Welcome back, friends and fashion lovers. Thank you for clicking on this video. If you're here for the first time, please do well to subscribe to help this channel grow and check out our other videos. Previously, I drafted this shirt pattern and I promise that I'll be showing you how to put it together. To get started, you need your fabric, you need a fusible interface, preferably a cotton type for your collar, that's your collar stand and fold. You need your buttons, enough for the dress, and you of course need your shirt pattern that you drafted previously with the sleeve pattern. To get started, right side facing each other, that is how I like to cut my fabric. So I'm going to go ahead, place my pattern on my fabric. Make sure you have some weight so that your pattern stays put. You can pin it down, then go ahead and trace your pattern. This trace line you're making will be your seam line, your actual seam line. Note that I drafted this pattern without any seaming allowance. After tracing your pattern, put your pattern aside. You make reference to it later and add seaming allowance to your pattern. So I like to add 1 inch by the side, half an inch or quarter of an inch along the armhole, the neckline, and the shoulder. So depending on how much your seaming allowance is, just make sure that it's even all through. So now trace out your seaming allowance that you actually cut through. If you're a beginner, this is very important. Trace your actual stitch line on the other side of your fabric all through. After doing that, time to cut. Make sure that you cut on your seaming allowance that you added. Now with the fabric cut out, you're going to bring back your pattern and place it on your fabric. Time to add the important notches of the day. So whether you like a rectangular or a little snip like I do, but make sure you add notches. Notches are very important to help you to assemble your garments properly. So make sure that you notch. Very important. So now, with my notches and everything out of the way, I am going to go ahead and cut the rest of my pattern pieces this way that I've shown you. So here are my pieces. For my front block, I made sure that I have 2 pieces for the front. For my back block, I made sure that I actually cut my back block on fold. And for my collar, I made sure that I cut my fusible interface with the pattern exactly, then added my seaming allowance as you have seen. I have 2 pieces of those. My yoke is cut on fold, and of course my sleeve. Please check out the sleeve block if you don't know how to draft a sleeve. So here, the actual sewing. So assuming I cut my yoke, that's 2 yoke. My yoke wasn't attached, I would have sewn it differently, but because I have a straight back with the yoke, so to do that, the easiest way I can do it is with my fusible web. So here I'm going to iron in my seaming allowance. Just make sure your seaming allowance is folded in. Put your fusible web under that and iron in place. That way you can go ahead and stitch without it moving around. After stitching, so here it is, make sure wrong side facing upward. Put your front pattern on your back pattern, that's wrong side facing each other. Arrange them properly. So it's time to roll. So starting from the hem of your dress, just make sure that you roll it nicely upward, making sure that the shoulder is properly arranged. Then separate one of the yoke and sandwich your shirt, that's your pieces folded in between. Make sure that you have 2 pieces, that's your front piece and one of your yoke, and the other back yoke should be behind. I don't know how to explain. So just make sure that you pin in place, make sure everything is well aligned. I just hope my explanation makes sense. Stitch that in place using your seaming allowance. After stitching, just pull it out. By the time you tuck on it and pull it out, your dress or your shirt should look like this. So now that you're done with that, let's proceed to the next. Remember that the facing and the interfacing, we folded it in. So you're going to do that on your front fabric and you're going to iron that in place. It's important to iron so that everything just stays neat and clean. So I have done that. So go ahead and stitch. It's best to stitch on this side because it will form part of your finishing. So stitch it nicely. So here I've done stitching and here it is. So let's proceed to the next step, the sleeves. So make sure you align your sleeve, assuming you've notched the center of both your shirt and your sleeve. Make sure you pin everything, making sure it matches nicely. Then go to your machine and sew. Do that for the other side. After sewing your sleeves, make sure right side facing each other. Put your front and back shirt piece together. So now is the time that the notches has to be in used. You have to use your notches, making sure that the armhole seam, your notches matches both for the front and back. You're going to join the side of the shirt. Hem the bottom of the shirt. After joining the side and hemming the bottom neatly and nicely, now proceed to the collar. On your shirt neckline, find the midpoint. When you find the midpoint, notch it. Set that aside. Bring your collar pieces. These are my collar pieces, my collar stand pieces, and my collar fold. So now placing right sides together, making sure they're properly aligned, stitch along your seaming allowance. After stitching, clip the edge so that it will be nice when you turn it inside out. So notch, 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 notch. After notching, open your collar, tuck it in and push it out. Make sure the edges are nice and crisp. Do it for the other side. So here on my collar stand, I'm finding my midpoint. Notch that. On your collar fold to find the midpoint. Now make sure that right side facing each other, just sandwich your collar fold in between your collar stand and stitch. After stitching, notch it all around, then flip it right side out. You can iron it flat, you can top stitch, but I like top stitching at the end. So now make sure everything is properly straight, but it's important for you to iron it. It's time to fix your collar, matching the center point. That's the notch you made in. Make sure that your collar is well arranged to your shirt. If you had used your proper seaming allowance and stitched properly, congratulations, your collar will fit perfectly like mine did. But if you haven't, don't worry. Try again. I'm sure you'll get it right the next time. So pin that in place, take to your sewing machine and sew nicely. After sewing, it's time to tuck in your seaming allowance. And so assuming you had ironed it will be quite easy, but if you haven't, tuck it in and take to your machine and sew. So here it is after sewing, and I've top stitched my collar. Let's proceed to the button part. I am using these white buttons, but because they won't show, so I'll use the black button for illustration. Firstly, make sure that your shirt is properly arranged. The back and front equally arranged, meaning that your yoke will come, part of your yoke will come to the front where it was originally. So now take your tape measure and find your bust point. That's the highest part of your bust, where your bust is fuller. So note that point. Make sure that you have a button placed at that. You could put a mark, then proceed to take the full length of the measurement. You can now decide to how many inches you want in between, but the closer it is, the much better, so that your business won't be outside. Or you could just determine the distance between that bust point to the collar neck, the overlap, how many inches, then just divide that into 2 and use that to mark the remaining part of your dress. Mine, I typically use 3.5 inches at this point, but you can use between 3 inches, but it shouldn't be more than 4 inches, so that your body will be properly covered. When you sit, you won't struggle. So just keep marking 3 inches or 3.5, highest 4 inches, depending on how you want it, all through. So here it is. My business is not outside, as you can see. Here is the dress. It is ready. It's that simple to put together, but if you need a full and more detailed tutorial on how to sew it, let me know. And thank you for watching to this point. Please, if you haven't subscribed, please do well to subscribe. The subscription means a lot, and thank you for watching. Bye for now. See you in the next tutorial.